with a little help from hell, McFarlane produces a prototype. You should look at new McFarlane toys. Spawn Plague. Plague was the first, a creation of the Lord of Hell himself, Malbolgia. Plague, however, could not be controlled. He was an unprecedented force of nature that could cast off the yoke of the most powerful creature in hell. Realizing this mistake, Malbolgia imprisoned Plague in the darkest pit of hell for all eternity. Unfortunately for the machinations of Cagliostro, freed Plague and released this evil into the world. Before we have a look at the blueprint that becomes soon the Hellspawn, I'd like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide this sample of Plague that we can have a look at in this video. Grabbing now the tape measure. Let's clickety-click, barb a trick right at the very top of Plague's head. Perhaps maybe we should go a little further than Plague's head. No. In fact, probably we should go to those points that stick out the top of the figure's body. After all, that's the highest point. If you count those, then Plague stands about 7 3/4 of an inch tall. If you don't count those, then the figure only stands about 7 inches in height. And to flip that around, the figure is then either 17.5 centimeters in height, or he's closer to being about 20 centimeters, factoring in those points in the back of his body. Still got to get myself a comic Spawn I can use for not only my own collection, but also the comparisons of sizes as well. In the meantime, we'll have a stand-in. I'm going to slide over here Plague, about to have a look at, and compare him at least to Mortal Kombat 11's Spawn. Not likely the Spawn that you're going to have displayed along with Plague, but it's the best I have to work with right now. And you can see that Plague is going to be a little bit smaller, not only in size, but build as well. No trading card present in Plague's case, no, but at least the figure comes with 2 types of display stands that the figure can be displayed along with. Did you just say 2 display stands? I do believe I did. Let's have a look at the more basic one of the 2. The figure, first of all, comes with a circular black display stand. Yes, it does, with the logo of Spawn printed down below. Psst. Up to the top corner, as it's always to be expected, there's one singular peg that's going to plug to the underside of either one of Plague's feet. More on that will follow. Put that to the side. The figure, though, comes with kind of interesting-looking display stands. It isn't so much a stand as it's something that stands behind the figure. There is technically a hole here on the bottom that you can then still attach onto a regular display stand. So if you are one that likes to commit the idea of actually having both intact, you can actually connect the 2 together. It's a pretty tight fit, granted, but once you attach it, you go from just the ordinary to the extraordinary. And again, you can, provided don't drop it, you can have this also as a separate piece as well. Kind of like the idea, honestly, of having the 2 attached together anyways, just simply because I have all the figures generally with their stands anyways. The only thing about it, though, is it's obviously going to be blocking off the Spawn logo. If that's not something that's going to be a deal breaker for you, then at least you have, again, a more elaborate looking display stand that, as you can see, has various different skulls spiked on top of these points. They're all made of a slightly softer plastic. You're not going to be pricking and bleeding yourself anytime soon, but it's got some really nice detailing done to those skulls themselves. I count 4. Unless there's one I'm missing on the back. No, I count 4. 2 on the bottom, and then 2 more paraded up at the top there. I really like this skull here on the top. They've added some additional dry brushing of black on there as well. It looks like they likely molded it in the more lighter colored plastic, but it's the darker brushing of the gray that brings out a lot of the details. Kind of looks like it's actually standing in snow. There is still there 1 peg, so you can then take the figure's body and then attach the foot, as he does have 2 holes on both sides of his feet, of course. You can simply then just attach the figure onto the post, and then you got yourself a little more of a display stand. The thing that you probably already see for yourself is by having the stand attached not only to the main base, but then attaching his foot to that post, it does sort of off-kilter him a little bit. He's not going to be standing completely straight. I do, again, like the idea that they included that. Put that to the side. The only other thing that comes included with Plague, get the figure's feet to be flat. The figure also comes with some grabbing hands. I mean, right now he has these long spiked finger hands, which I really prefer of the 2. But if you want to have a little bit more modest hands, one's for grabbing Spawn's face, for example, and ripping them to shreds, then he has these ones. One thing that gets afforded to all of the figure's hands and the rest of his figure's body is some nice additional paint of white. So you can see all across the fingertips. Adds a little something to it, other than just having a straight black figure. These hands simply just plug into the existing hands. But again, like, look how good these hands are. And then just to compare them with a hand of the same side, at least, you can see how the extended fingers definitely give them a more almost carnage look to them. Really cool looking hands. Again, you can easily just pull these off, just wiggle these off and remove them from the post like that. And then just replace it with, of course, the hand. In hell or not, thumbsies go always still in. Just plug it onto the existing post. And now you have a more modest looking hand, or you have the more crazier looking hand. I like this one because it's got the big long spike on the end of its finger. These are all very prickly, though, so as I'm even changing the hands out, I can feel them taking some, impressing themselves into my skin. Neat-looking hands, though. Still, I'm just going to pop these back in. I think this is the nicer of the two looking hands. Yeah, look how nicer those hands look. What devastating damage these hands you think could be able to pull off. And again, they're just riddled with spikes. They actually look like old tree branches. And again, yeah, that's nice white added to not only the hands, but all the way up the forearms as well. The continued trend of the white onto the black you'll see everywhere here on the figure's body. It makes a little less appearances in some of the figure's body, but mostly it's still present. In the comic and most of the images of Plague, he generally is still a black figure, but he has a lot of the whites and the grays added to his body. Some could say maybe they could have added just a little bit more to his body, but I like at least that they've got it more on the arms, the shoulder area, especially his face as well. Getting a closer look at the face. Now this again is what will be eventually the Hellspawn. He's the early prototype of what will be the Hellspawn. Too hard to control by Malebolgia, so he's banished away. Essentially what you get here is still somewhat of a Hellspawn face. You can kind of see the way they outline the areas of the face, or around the areas of the eyes at least. That kind of seems to be the starting point of what will be the markers on the mask. I do like the way they've done the glowing eyes here, outlining it nicely in orange. Orange teeth also handles well here, and of course you got the same bright yellow on the inside, really allows those teeth to pop. The rest of the body is pretty much a Staction figure. Well, Staction in the sense, or simple in the sense, there's really not a lot of extra detailing done to it. I do like the texturing, which we'll talk more about in a second, but then the famous trademark of that M there present on the front of his body. None is the white. There's no white here. There's no red. And instead, you sort of got like a glowing orange. It looks like it's been airbrushed. But what's nice, though, is that if you see the texturing of this and you compare this to this, this is kind of more of a coarser texturing, whereas the inside, where the actual M shape is, there's kind of more like little lines here, almost like muscle tissue. It's a really neat looking figure. I love the way they've actually sculpted this. And again, there's all this coarse texturing all across his body. There doesn't seem to be any place on Plague that seems smooth or left behind without sculpting it first. Again, I like the detailing that they've done. A lot of it kind of looks more like rocks, like the texturing of rock. Again, you got these nice spikes that stick out both his legs and also in his elbow area around his forearms too. These spikes are all soft plastic. So, of course, you're not going to necessarily be pricking yourself, but again, they're soft enough, at least the plastic, that they've sculpted them in there, but they're not going to be causing you problems when you're moving the figure's arms around, for example. And then you've got this cool looking mane that he's got on the back of his body. Longer spikes, slightly smaller spikes, and spikes of various sizes and lengths. Again, they're all using soft plastic, so there's nothing really that's going to be breaking here on the figure. This is not removable, by the way. It has been molded to the back of the figure's body, which again has the same orange motif here on the back that he has also here on the front as well, and connects actually just underneath the arms. Nice looking figure. For the articulation here on Plague, his head first of all is on a ball joint, so it rotates all the way around. It does look up, and it does look down. Quite a lot, actually, in fact. You can also hinge as well the head back and forth. Now the arms, I have no problem with this arm here, but this arm for some reason is very loose. Not really sure what's causing the looseness of the arm. It seems to be sitting in the socket fine, and yet the arm's very, very loose. Very loose. This arm is perfectly fine. The arms rotate, by the way, all the way around. These spikes, even though the arm's going to be brazing against it, it's not going to prevent the arms from rotating all the way around. Figure has a bicep swivel. Figure has a double hinge on the elbow, and these giant spiked hands. Long fingers rotate all the way around. You can also hinge them back and forth. As for the upper torso, it's on a ball joint. As for the lower torso, it's also, if you could believe it, on a ball joint. Again, he's got the lower trunks, which are softer plastic, but at least it conceals the joint on the inside of the thigh. Thighs for the legs, at least, allow that almost a full splits for Plague. You can take the legs, move them forward, move them back. It's a mild swivel just at the top, more for the way it's been assembled in the factory. Double hinge on the knee. And then there's the articulation here in the foot, up and down, a rock back and forth this way, and toe articulation as well. I don't know if you can actually see it as well, that they've sculpted what will be almost the markings of a toe, slightly smaller toes after the fact. It's a really neat looking figure. The only thing I would probably have added on to this figure, one thing is obviously a little more of a tighter joint here in the shoulder, but maybe just adding just a tad bit more white, or a little bit more of a medium gray here just to the front of his body. There's a lot of black, but to at least their credit, they did add some necessary white accent areas on this, so it's not solely just a black molded figure. I like the coloring that they did for the eyes. I love the coloring they did for the teeth. And again, like, you really got a nice looking figure, even though majority of his body is all making use of just a black plastic. Plague may not have a lot of paint, but the paint that they did put on the figure is at least handled well. You've got the emblem on the front that goes around to the back, done nicely in a bright orange, and that same orange carries over to the teeth in his face as well. And of course, you can't overlook the fact he's got the glowing eyes and the glowing mouth colored nicely in a very bright lemon yellow. The rest of the figure's body, while still being black, they still managed to add some nice little touches of white added in there as well, so it's not a figure that feels incomplete. And even when you're looking at the texturing of the skin that they sculpted onto the figure, from the front to the back, from the top to the bottom, there's nothing on Plague that feels incomplete or was left off of the sculpting process. I do like the way they've handled the coarse texturing of his skin, and I do also like the way that for the emblem on the front of his body, it's a different type of texturing. It's a different type that they've sculpted to it, so it's different from the rest of the torso of his body. Again, I love the spikes that they've also added to the back of his torso, all again using softer plastic. For his accessories, he only sadly comes include some swappable hands, but this is one time usually I would be swapping out the hands for the ones he comes included with and leaving the defaulted hands maybe back in a baggie. This is one time though with Plague, I like the hands that they actually default to the figure more than I like the hands that they included with the figure. I almost would have even said leave those other alternate hands out, because the spike longer fingers on this one does the better job of looking, especially when you got this figure on display. I like the longer fingers. I think they work a lot better. The extra additional base piece, while having those skulls, does unfortunately mean that the figure is a little off-kiltered. You can either have it on its own, or you can attach it to the basic black stand that comes included with the figure. Either way, it's going to off-kilter the figure. It's not going to stand completely straight, but I do like the added piece of having that, and it's definitely going to be on display along with Plague. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide this sample of the brand new Spawn Plague that we could have a look at in this video. Have you had the chance yet to pick up Plague? If you have, let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of it. If you haven't yet, based on this review, is this a figure you'd like to pick up and add to your collection? As well, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you love the content you guys are seeing and want to stick around for more, then make sure if you haven't already done so, yes, that you hit the subscribe button down below. It would also be helpful and in your best interest to turn on the bell notification as well. That ensures that you're going to be getting all those friendly reminders on a regular basis, and you never will miss out on any new video that gets posted here on this channel. Also as well, if you don't mind me plugging a playlist, at the very end of this video will also be a playlist of other Spawn stuff I've reviewed in the past, and all future Spawn stuff will be showing up in there as well. As always guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.